Hello, this is Cristi. Welcome to a new video. In this one, I'm going to show you how to create a special highlight that looks like a marching ants, like one of those lines and dashed lines that go around an object and highlight it specially. There is no effect like this in Camtasia. This was from a question that I saw in the Camtasia users group, and I thought it was a very interesting discussion there about this and how to achieve this like a marquee selection, the kind you see in Photoshop or any photo editing software. You've got those lines just marching around the outline. So I thought about it and I come up with a nice solution. I think it's very elegant and it gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can create assets that you can reuse. So let's have a look at how to do this. So let's suppose that I go to annotations. By the way, I'm using Camtasia 2021 for this, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it in 2020, and I'll explain why. There is a text here. I'm just going to put this text on the canvas, and I would like this text. I want to draw attention to this text, and I want to show a nice border around it that's going to be sort of moving around like I told you. So we need to draw a shape, and then we will use an effect that is in Camtasia 2021 called Media Matte. If you have Camtasia 2020, it's called Track Matte, and it's a little bit different, but it achieves the same exact effect with the mask. So let me show you how. I'm going to go to annotations on the left there, and I'm just going to select, you can select all, but we really just need this, a rectangle. Doesn't matter which one it is. Just drag that to your canvas and make it, kind of large like this. And I don't know, you can change the color if you like. It's really not important because this is not going to be visible. Before I do the rectangle, I also need to create the marquee that's going to be moving around the outline. So the way to do that is I'm going to hide both of these, the text and the rectangle. We'll bring them back later. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do it. One of them is using triangles. So let's go with the triangle. I'm just going to use a triangle from these shapes. If you don't see the triangle, make sure you go to shapes and change style to all, and that's going to show all the shapes that are available. And thankfully, at least Camtasia, they have put in here at least the basic shapes. Let's call them basic shapes. And I'm going to just align this. You can use the snapping on the canvas to help you align this properly. And look at this. I am positioning this in the very center of the canvas with the point of the triangle pointing in the center. You can also use the control key to hold down and just make it narrow like this. The idea is to have it kind of narrow, not too narrow, but kind of narrow, because those lines are very short in the marquee selection things. So I'm going to just control C and control V. I'm just basically duplicating this and going to the rotation here and around the Z axis 180 degrees. My copy is now facing sort of downwards, and I'm going to align this to the top. So you can see my triangles are pointing in the same place. Control G to group them, Control C and V to paste. And then I'm going to do 90 degrees here. There you go. 90 degrees on these two. Now select all of them again, and Control G again, and Control C and V to duplicate. Basically, I'm making multiple copies of these every time I copy them. And this time it's going to be a 45 degree like this. And again, ungroup them. So as you can see now, I have several groups on my timeline. Basically, what I want to do is ungroup them all, Control U, and then Control G again to group them all into one single group. All this grouping is really not necessary, except for the fact that it lets me duplicate these quickly and rotate them. So this one group, I'm going to copy and paste it. So I have a copy of it, and now I'm rotating it. And look at this. I'm creating these sort of radial triangles all over the place. And I'm doing it again, so don't worry about it. Just, you can do it as many times as you like to create this sort of pattern that is radial like this. So I'm going to just stop here. You can actually, if your triangles are more narrow, you can then do this more times, but I think this is quite enough for what I want to achieve. So this was step one. Now I'm going to select both of these groups, ungroup them all, and Camtasia is going to just create a lot of shapes on the timeline. No problem, because as soon as you ungroup them, they remain selected, and the only thing you need to do now is Control G again to group them again, just making sure they're all staying together in a single group because it's easier to move them around. So look at this, you know, I have this shape now. It looks like an umbrella kind of scene from above. Not a problem. Just leave this in the center of the canvas for now. And now let's bring in the shape that we actually wanted to create the marquee with, right? So I'm going to just unlock and show these other two tracks. You can look on the left there. I've got the tracks, and I'm just going to right click and remove all empty tracks just to keep things clean in here. So these are the three tracks I'm concerned with. The group at the top is the actual triangles shape, so I can rename this group and call it triangles, concentric, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to put this just below the shape of the rectangle. I'm going to bring the text at the top. So this is my ensemble right now. I'm going to select the rectangle and again, you know, make use of the snapping to just keep things centered. Use the control key to just resize everything from the center. You can just align everything nicely, and if you need, just adjust the text like this. So this is kind of the ensemble. It doesn't have to have text in the middle. You can have anything you like, but I'm just using that text as an example. So here comes the cool part. This is how we will achieve the effect. I'm going to select my shape, my rectangle, and basically what I want to do is my marquee selection, or the marching ants effect, whatever you want to call it. I want it to move around the edges of this rectangle. I want it to go around the outline, sort of, yeah? So that means I want to see the outline first. So go to the properties on the right and make the outline thicker. Something like this, maybe. Depending on how delicate you want this to look, make it thinner or whatever. You can always change this later, not a problem. So whatever decisions you make here are not destructive. They're not gonna, you know, you can always go back and change them. So I'm gonna just make this 20 pixels thick. The second thing is I don't want to see the inside of this rectangle. You know, remember, I just want to see the borders. So basically go to the fill and the opacity, turn it all the way down. So now you can see through it. That is how you turn the color off in the shape. And now here comes the effect. The way we will do this is we will use this effect in Camtasia 2021 called Media Matte to essentially create a mask from the object on the top, which is our rectangle. And that's going to become a mask for the object inside, which is below the object, which is our triangles. But before I do that, I want to actually make the triangles move, because of course the marching ants is an effect that shows those lines moving. So before we do that, I'm just going to go to select the triangles and move your playhead somewhere on the triangles on the timeline. It doesn't really matter where it is, and just add an animation to it. And not just any animation, we'll go to animations and go to animations and drag a custom animation to my triangles. You can also achieve this by pressing Shift and A in Camtasia, but I'm just going to put the animation here and just make the animation quite long, maybe the whole length of the object. Now, of course, this is 50 seconds long or a minute long or 55 or whatever. I don't know if you want the animation to last this long. So you can do it longer, so you can use it as long as you like in your project, so you don't worry about the time running out on this animation, right? So I'm just going to make it 55 seconds long or so. And the animation we want is going to be a rotation, right? Because they will move around the border and rotate. So basically what I want to do is, with this selected and the selection in the timeline on the last keyframe of this animation, go to the clip properties on the right and just along the z-axis, because that's the one that rotates the object on the screen, let's put 720 degrees rotation. Nothing's happened because this is a perfect circle every time, but look, if I move, it's rotating like this. Now let's play this. Let's see if we are happy with the speed. One thing you may want to change is the speed, the easing of the animation. By default, Camtasia will create an easing in and out on your animations. If you want to change that and have them move at a constant speed, not speed up and then slow down as the easing does, right click on the animation, click to enable easing, and then select linear. That's going to make a constant speed animation all the way through. The other thing I don't like is they're kind of spinning anti-clockwise. So if you want to change the direction of the spinning, go to the last keyframe again. Make sure that red dot is selected. And instead of 720, just put a minus in front of it, which is going to make it spin the other way. So now it's going in the right direction as I want it to do. So this is not very fast. I kind of like it. It's about a minute long movement and it just keeps going around in circles. So that is fine. Now let's create the effect. Very easy. Click on the shape and go to Visual Effects in Camtasia 2021. By the way, you don't have this in Camtasia 2020, but you can still do it a different way. And I'll go show you that too. So if you have 2021, just use this effect, Media Matte, and apply this effect to the rectangle clip, which is now the track 2 on my timeline. So I'm just going to drag this on, and there you have it. Everything else disappears, and I'm only seeing the part of the rotation object that is inside of the surface covered by this shape, by the rectangle. In my case, because I removed the background color of the shape, I'm only seeing the outline because that was the only thing that was visible. And that actually creates a mask with the thing below it. So basically that's what it does. So, and look at this. I've got my marching ants moving around, right? So this is one way to do this. Now there are some downsides to this. As you can see around the corners, because the triangles are sort of radial, around the corners they look very elongated and they, you may not like them. You can see those slanted kind of edges. Of course, you can go on the shape and change the outline thickness. Maybe I'm going to make it thinner, and you can see the effect is preserved, so I can keep playing this, and now the lines are thinner, right? And that may be, you may be happy with that, or you can do it another way, and I'm going to show you another way. But before that, let me show you what to do if you have Camtasia 2020. Unfortunately, this doesn't work in 2019 and previous versions because they don't have any of these masking effects, right? So before Camtasia 2021, in Camtasia 2020, this was introduced, the track matte, which is the same like Media Matte, but applying on a whole track above the object. So let me show you how to achieve the same exact thing in Camtasia 2020. Click on the shape. I'm going to remove the effect, the Media Matte effect for now, because I'm not going to use this. You don't have it in 2020. So now the same way you can achieve this in 2020 by selecting the track. You see track 2 here where the shape is. So we are actually applying this matte effect to the whole track, not just the shape object. Yeah, very easy. You can see there's an icon here, the disable track icon. Right click on it. Don't click on it. If you single click on it, it's just going to hide it and show it. You can right click on this and you've got the track matte mode, which means it's going to turn that whole track into a mask, right? So the same thing you want to select is the alpha effect, which means it's going to see through only on the areas that are visible in the object on top, which is in our case the shape, right? Alpha, there you go. You've achieved the same exact effect. And actually this allows you to, if you want to turn this into a reusable asset, that is fine, because as soon as you select everything in your project, you can group it and add it to your library. And when you create a group in Camtasia 2020 and 2021, this track matte effect is being copied inside of the group. So your effect will still work even though you then move the object somewhere else. You disable the alpha track matte on that particular track number 2. It's no longer assigned or attached to the track itself. It becomes attached to the track inside the group. Okay, so that may be a little bit hard to work around, in your mind, because it's a little confusing. It was a little confusing at first for me too. So now let me just turn this off because I don't want to continue doing it the Camtasia 2020 way. So I'm going to go back to add the Media Matte to my shape. So I'm back to my effect. You have a very nice benefit here with this because you can now select everything, and group it, which means your whole effect, your whole thing is inside of a group, which you can reuse in your project. And more than that, if you have Camtasia 2021, this group actually has access now to the stuff on the right here that you see in the properties. The quick properties editor was also introduced in Camtasia 2021, and it allows you to change the property of the objects inside of a group without actually opening the group and going inside of it. So you can see now here that I can change the shape and the color of the triangles. So if I want my marquee or my marching ants to be a different color, I just need to click here and say, let's make them like red or something. There you go. I'm changing the properties without actually opening up and double clicking and going inside, finding the actual object and all that. Plus, it also allows you to change the text. So I want to say, oh, this text is important. There you go. And the text changes right in there. So this is a perfect way to create reusable assets. You make the whole effect work on its own, group it, and then save it to your library, and you have a reusable component. Now, I promised I was going to show you how to do this so that it doesn't look distorted like this. So there's more ways to do this. First of all, I'm just going to make a copy. So look, because this is a group, it's a very nice object. You can move around, resize it, and do whatever you want with it. So I'm going to actually make a copy, Control C, and I'm going to paste one down here, down the line. And I'm going to show you another version of this, which means first of all, if it's a rectangle, then this thing with the corners is a little distorted, which is, again, you may not like it. So if you change the shape, so let's go inside of this group, click on this plus sign, go inside the group, and instead of a rectangle, I'm just going to delete this rectangle, and I'm going to bring a circle. So just go to annotations again, shapes, select the circle, and just align it here. It doesn't really, it doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but if you want to, you can do that. And I'm going to just resize this kind of here. Okay, the same thing, we want to change the fill to be 0, so I don't want to see the fill, but I want to make an outline from it like this. Just make the outline thicker. And go to the timeline and make sure that this also spans the entire duration of the animation you want. And make sure that this circle you just created is not on top of the text. It needs to be on top of the spinning triangles, because it's going to act as a mask. So just drag it down here, just above the triangles track. Go to the visual effects again and use the media mat on the circle we just created, like so. So there you go. This one looks very nice because it's a circle and the triangles are spinning in a circle. So there you go. It actually now works quite nice because you don't see those elongations around the corners. Now you say, okay, well, but I don't want always to have a circle. Maybe I want to have a rectangle, but I don't want to see that weird elongation around the corners. Not a problem. We can have a solution for that too. So I'm going to go outside of this group again and select the first one with the rectangle and make another copy here just to show you how to do it. Paste it in there. So there it is. I'm just going to make it maybe larger, like this. Okay, so how do we solve this thing with the radial triangles? Not a problem. Let's go inside the group and just completely delete the triangles. Okay, so we just have now the rectangle and the text. Not a problem. Let's go now and create the effect. I'm going to come out of this group for a second here. I'm going to ungroup this because I want to work freely on the timeline. So instead of triangles, what I'm going to do is use rectangles, and not just any rectangles. They're going to be very tall and very narrow, something like this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to actually create some parallel rectangles like this. So I'm just going to copy and paste this several times, and I'm going to remove this for now because I don't want it to get in the way. So look at these rectangles. It's up to you how distant you want them to be and how thick. Basically, I'm just going to duplicate them a bunch of times, and I'm just going to eyeball this, right? So don't worry about this being perfectly spaced. Unfortunately, Camtasia does not have a facility to align things and distribute them. We can only hope, but I'm going to just keep on selecting these and duplicating them. So there's a little bit of work before, but once you create this and have a reusable asset, you have no need to worry about this anymore. So look, I'm going to fill my whole canvas with these rectangles like this. Okay, so one more time, I'm just going to put them all to the left, sort of like this, Control C and V, and just use the arrow keys to move them sideways. And then I may have made too many, but we will find out in a minute if we have. Okay, so this is my rectangles, quite a lot of them. I'm going to select all of them, so zoom out and just select everything. Control G to group. When you group something, Camtasia kind of puts it on the, constrains that group to the canvas, which is not ideal because it's, I don't like it. And then it kind of clips them off. But anyway, I'll bring in the squares again, and look, the text and the shape is now on top of these rectangles that I created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rotate these sort of like that. But before I do that, I want to animate them, right? So I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to go inside the group. And inside this group, you have all of those rectangles. You can see Camtasia is kind of struggling with them. Select them all and group them again, because I wanted to make it easy for me to animate. So I'm going to go on the timeline somewhere. Let me zoom into the timeline here. So these are a group with my rectangles, right? So I'm going to create an animation, Shift and A. Again, make the animation quite long because I want it to last for the whole duration. Right click on the animation, enable easing, make it linear. And at the very end, what I want to do is just move these all the way to the right. And on the left side, you can go back to the first keyframe and move them all the way to the left, or almost. Now, okay, you say, well, I can see what you're doing here, but it's not really nice because then the left and the right lines are flickering when the lines come out. Not a problem. We can go back to this and just turn this sort of like that, right? So now we have a marquee on top of this thing. Let's see what's happening. Oh, look at that. The marquee is working. And it actually is more realistic and more closer to the one that you see in various software. And if it's actually too slow, you can change the speed, or you can change the distance they travel, or you can change the animation length to make it shorter, so then it moves faster. And then you repeat that animation as many times as you like, just to get the thing longer. So I have found out that actually you can take an object or an animation and just duplicate it, and it's going to start doing it again. But if you want it to move longer, if you want it to move faster, you can always vary the endpoints, the start and the end timeline, and the distance they travel, and all of that. So I think this is quite very much closer to what we wanted to see in the first place. And again, you select this, group it all, so you have everything in one group. So now, of course, these options become available to you. Change the colors, and if you need to change the sort of the thickness of the shape, go inside the group, click on the shape, and then make it thicker like this, and it looks like a construction site warning tape kind of thing. So there you go. This is the effect, and we've got a nice reusable marquee selection thingy you can use. So you don't have to have that text inside of that. If you want to take the text away and use this on top of other things, it's perfectly transparent. And if I bring an image in here, let me show you. So I brought a picture in my project, and I'm going to just put this on top of it. I'm going to just delete the text. I don't want any text on this. So let's suppose I want to highlight this family or whatever. Just resize it. Place it around this like that. You can see it's transparent and it keeps moving and it works fine. So very nice reusable Christmas or something border around objects. So there it is. This is the workaround, the effect that is not included in Camtasia, but it's quite easy to achieve once you understand the workings of the media matte effect, or in Camtasia 2021, the track matte effect, achieves the same thing. So I hope this was useful for you. Thank you for watching so far. And if you want to get these components already made, you can find a link in the description where you can go and buy this particular component, all these 3 variations, and possibly other shapes like triangles, stars. You know, you can buy these from my Buy Me a Coffee account or from my downloadables files account. You can download them from there and reuse them every time you like. And of course, it would help support my work if you did. And if you don't have Camtasia 2021, by the way, there is a link in the description to upgrade, and that is an affiliate link, so it would help support my channel, my work with Camtasia, and the tutorials I'm creating. So I would really appreciate it. It would mean no extra cost to you. So thank you again for watching, and see you next time.